Welcome to Sagenheim. In the first part of the Thidrekssaga, the preface of the Norwegian Skald awaits us. Hear now from the Olden Days. If men wish to hear of the great events that took place in ancient times, they must both find out what they had not previously known and then keep it in their memory. If men want to learn long and unfamiliar stories, it is better that they be written down than that they pass out of memory. This saga, which is one of the longest stories that has been told in German language, tells about King Didrik and his warriors, about Sigurd Fafnisbana and the Niflungs, about the Vilkina men and many other kings and warriors who come into this story. This story begins in Pool and moves north through Lunbadi, Fenidi, Svava, Ungaria, Pulinaland, Rutia, Vindland, Danmark, and Svithjot, through all of Saxonia and Frakland, and to Valland in the west and Hesbania. Throughout all these lands, the saga is told, relating the glorious deeds that men accomplished in all of the lands here mentioned. The Danes and the Swedes can tell many stories of these matters, and they have put some of them into songs they sing to entertain powerful men. Many of the songs that are sung today were composed a long time ago. Norsemen have brought together many parts of the story, and some of them in verse. First of all, they tell about Sigurd, the killer of Fafnir, the Volsungs and the Niflungs, and about Velend, the smith and his brother Egil, and about King Nidung. There are some variations in the names and deeds of men, but that is not surprising when so many stories have been told, even though they all arise from more or less the same origin. This saga is assembled from the stories of German men, and some of it comes from their verses, which were composed to entertain great men, and which were composed long ago, soon after the events that are told here. Even if you were to take one man from each town in all of Saxony, they would all tell the story the same way. This is because of their old songs. And this poetry is set down so that we can recognize that it is the usage of poetry in our language. Some words are exaggerated for the sake of poetic effect, and the person who is being praised at the moment is called the greatest of men. So also with the number of men killed, as when it is said that the whole people fall if only the most distinguished, who have already been praised, fall. But you will discern that this devastation comes mostly from the fall of powerful men, because they have no equal, according to what Halfred says. All the north lies waste, because of the dead king. Peace is confounded by the fall of Tryggvi's famous son. It was not actually true that the Northland had become a wasteland because Olaf had fallen, as he said, but he meant these words to praise the king by saying that there was no such man left in the Northmen like Olaf Tryggvason. In the same way, the fame of the great deeds of King Thidrik and his warriors, and others who lived at the same time, extends through all the lands where the saga is told. The saga is organized in this way. First are the chieftains who ruled the lands and by whose names the people they ruled are called, and after that, their descendants, preferably up to the present day. This story took place at the time when King Constantine the Great had died, who had Christianized almost all the world. But immediately after his death, Christendom was despoiled and went astray in many lands, so that during the first part of the saga, there were no one who held the true faith, though they all believed in the same God. They swore oaths by his name, and they praised his name. There were many kings at the time who were greater than Thidrik, about whom the saga has the most to say. Most men say that after Noah's flood, men were as large and as strong as giants and lived many generations. But since that time passed, many became smaller and weaker as they are now. As the time since Noah's flood passed, more and more became weak, and the strong men made up a group of less than 100. There were now half as many men who were distinguished or who did great deeds as their ancestors had done. Even though the people grew smaller, they became no less eager to gain riches and honor, and for this reason they fought great battles. It has often happened that a strong man would have a helmet and a byrnie so strong that a weak man would not have the strength to lift it up from the ground. He also would have a sharp and keen sword, so that he could easily kill 100 weaker men with his strength alone, so that, even if his sword would not cut through the armor that was before it, it would strike there so hard that neither weak bones nor thin legs could stand against it. Thus it does not seem surprising that the weaker man could not cut apart the strong man's armor or bones, which he could not even carry with his puny strength. By the time King Thidrik and his champions lived, a long time had passed during which manhood waned, and there were few in every land who had maintained their strength. If more than a few of the strong men did come together in one place and had the best weapons, those that could cut armor as well as flesh, then it was no wonder that an army of little men seemed weak and small. It cannot be doubted that the swords of antiquity could cut iron when they were wielded with so much strength. There are still swords being made that do not grow dull, even if one strikes iron with them. These stories will show that not every man has the same nature. Some are said to have the power of seeing the future, and some have strength and valor or other kinds of accomplishment or skill to such an extent that it is worth telling about. Another sort of story sets out to tell about certain kinds of strange things, wonders and marvels, which have taken place in many ways in the world. What seems in one land wondrous is ordinary in another. It also seems amazing to a foolish man to hear what he has not heard before. But the man who is wise and knows how to judge does not find things amazing that reasonably can take place. Yet few are so wise that they believe only that which they have seen. But some men are so foolish that they are less able to understand what they have just seen or heard than wiser men who have heard about something that took place some time before. For the foolish man, it is just as if he had neither seen nor heard anything. The stories of noble men are also useful because they demonstrate noble deeds and famous accomplishments, and interpret bad deeds as the result of sloth, and so they allow the person who wishes to distinguish rightly, thus to distinguish good from evil. It is the opinion of many that one man may be able to entertain them many hours. Most entertainment involves work and some costs much money. Some cannot be accomplished without a large group of men. Some games are entertainment for only a few and last only a short time. But the entertainment of tales or poems involves neither expense nor danger to life. One person alone can entertain many men if they want to listen. This entertainment is also available for a small group if one wishes it, night or day, whether it is light or dark. It is foolish to call those things lies that one has neither seen nor heard, and when one knows nothing more true about it. It is wise to consider in one's own mind what one hears before rejecting or despising it. It can also be that a person does not wish to listen because what is being told about nobility and great deeds is unlike his own deeds. All the deeds and accomplishments in which these men excelled other men in the sagas may seem to the man who is hearing them to be exaggerated, but he should remember that one could never tell anything about them so great that Almighty God could not have given them twice as much of these qualities if he had willed it. And thus, the first part of the Thidrekssaga is coming to an end. In the next part, we will witness the knight Samson rising up to become a powerful man, the kidnapping of the maiden Hildisvit, and how a Jarl is losing his life over it. Thanks for tuning in, and see you again next time, back here at Sagenheim.